Oh Lord. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show where we serve Skittles and good sense. Skittles and good sense. If you need either one, this is where you need to be. Okay. Right now, I like to eat my green and my yellows together because it just lemon and lime. I feel like it goes together. I eat my reds and my purples together. I don't really care about the orange. And if you're judging me, judge your mama. I don't care. But here goes some green and some yellow right now. Okay. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is the show. If
The
you didn't
show.
know, this is called the show. How does my music sound? Can y'all hear my music in the background?
Barely.
I can hear it. It's real low though. Like it's not
Okay.
like
Okay. So I'm the one who always has to have music in the background, and we are going to just kind of chill, chit chat, rap a chat, kind of usher in the audience,
come on
um,
in.
usher
Come
in
on.
our supporters for another minute or two before we dive right in. So I'm happy to see y'all. We is festive, festive. Come on, baby blue, baby blue, um, baby blue. You got your little looking like Josephine Baker or somebody. I see. What's your shirt say, girl?
Oh, my shirt. This shirt. Oh, this
Mm-hmm.
one. It says, "Love is the language
Boobies.
of the
Oh,
soul."
Yes, you was ready. You was sat up now. Sat
Love
up.
is the
oh.
language of the soul.
I
By
thought it
Angel
said
Simmons.
boobies.
That's great design. It also comes in four other colors. If anyone was interested, this is all left. This is the rest of the
Ironically,
Yo,
inventory.
that's more than four colors.
Purple, purest blue,
Pierce blue.
cassis,
Cut.
Kelly green, and cantaloupe. I said four other
ah,
colors. This is the
oh,
fifth color. So this is the
Come on,
rest
Penelope.
of the inventory for Love's Great Designs latest spring color drop. $20 holla.
Mhm.
You can hit me directly to see if I have something for you. Small through extra large. I'm wearing a large.
So tell me what your shirt says again.
Love is the
boobies.
language of the soul.
Says
Oh,
who? Where did you get that
Love's
shirt
Great
from?
Design.
Okay. Say more.
Angel Simmons is the author of these two books. You know,
Two
you might
books.
get a package deal if you want to grab a shirt and two books, or two shirts and one book, or whatever. Love's Great Design, Uncovering the Power and Purpose of Human Relationship by Angel Simmons, as well as Target of Love, Surviving Narcissistic Abuse by Angel Simmons as well. That's
mm.
me, Angel Simmons.
How did you discover the quote for your shirts?
It's a quote in my book.
How did you discover the quote in the book for your book
It
and for
came
your
from my
shirts?
head. Came from my mind. It's in my
Okay.
mind. It's in my mind.
Okay, in your mind. All right.
In my
On to the
mind.
next. On to the guy in the gold.
The guy in the gold.
Hey,
Springdale.
hello, banana.
What's up?
Looking like a little plantain or something.
Ah,
That's
come
right.
on, Plantain.
Ain't little though.
Oh,
Getting fat.
What's your shirt say?
It said, "Oh, I can't see it. Does it say?"
Do
It
you have a
says,
right? Because you probably can't stand up.
"Can y'all see that?" It
I
right. You
am
know.
love for you. I know. I
Yeah.
do know.
I,
I do know.
I am love for you. This
Okay.
is my shirt.
What does
It
that
was
mean to
actually
me?
done. See this nice embroidery? See that
I
nice
do.
embroidery?
I do.
beautiful.
My god brother did that at his store, custom prints.
Okay,
Come on,
Custom
custom
is it
print.
custom prints? Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
In LaGrange, Illinois.
LaGrange, Illinois, right outside of Chicago for our national, international supporters. Right outside of Chicago, LaGrange, Illinois. Get you some. Get you some.
Get
I
you
am
some.
love for you. What does I am love for you signify?
Basically that's it. That's my you know how people I would call it like my motto.
Your
It's also
mantra.
my anchor for and accountability for living my life. To live as love for people. I really believe that love is more than just something we have for people. I really believe it's an identity that we carry. It's who we are.
Uh-huh.
So for me, when I say I am love for you, it holds me accountable to being who I am, but it also holds me accountable to respond to you and treat you in a way that's reflective of what a being that's worthy of love should be, how they should be treated. It's what I call relationality.
Do you have any proof to back up your relationality standpoints? Maybe something on paper.
Well, there is this one book. There's
Mm-hmm.
this book right here,
Mm-hmm.
Matches your
and it,
shirt.
it, it generally
It
it
matches
explains a
your
lot.
shirt.
So
It
clever.
explains it all. It does match my shirt. It does. It does. It just matches the shirt. It's called relationality,
Mm-hmm.
consciously aligning to our divine relational worth.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by my twin, LeAnzar Stockley, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, written by him, and so I have that. That's just good for the whole relationality, concept, the whole "I am love for you" concept. But then there's this accompaniment book. This is for
He
people
looks like you too.
trying to get with a boo. Yeah, it's my twin.
Okay.
He's my clone. I
Y'all
shouldn't
got
say
some
twin. He's
strong
my clone.
genes. Y'all got some strong genes.
Yeah, yeah. So, and this one is relationship ready. So that's moving from hashtag relationship goals to a wise foundation for relational greatness.
Do you have to have
That's,
relationality skills before you're relationship ready, or does it come twofold, or one before the other, or once some
the book or the skill.
for life? Do I
I
need do I
believe
need to
that we
have
need to hone.
relationality?
I
Uh-huh.
believe we need to go here first.
Uh-huh.
Get your relationality together. That'll help you be relationship ready.
Oh, got you.
All right.
Yeah, yeah,
I love it. I
yeah,
love it. And I
yeah.
thank y'all. I thank you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. If you didn't know, this is called the show. You might have heard it from Slick Rick and them first, but we're here right now in 2023. The show with my two geniuses, LeAnzar Stockley, Angel Simmons, myself, Brysen Williams. You can find us all over social media at Society61, at LeAnzar, at The Message Inc., and at Love's Great Design. And if you might be looking for little old me, you can find me at the original Brysen and Sweet Spot Media, even though I feel like Angel is my only support on Sweet Spot Media, and I love it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it to the max. The show. I mean, this is what we do. We're 3 years, 3 years, 2 years.
Is it?
We're two something years into the game. Two something years into the game. Where we just decided to get together because, as the whole world, we were in a pandemic, right? And we couldn't do the regular things that we do. Have our meetings, have our shows, have our sets, have our different events, venues, whatever. We couldn't do that, and as everybody else was doing, we were trying to figure out something to stay sane with our people that were closest to us. So this is how the show came about. We didn't have a name. We went 2 years without a name. We was just like, yo, tune in. Um, but we kept calling it the show, the show, the show, the show, and it started sticking. So that's how the show came about. If anybody misses this, forward this to them so they can know. But the show is based upon it's a platform, and uh it's a protective platform. It's a very sentimental platform, but yet it's a very open platform, but yet it's a very vulnerable platform. Um, where we discuss, all things parallel, or maybe things in your life ain't parallel. Maybe they're perpendicular right now, but either way, there's no judgment because you're welcome here. Parallel or perpendicular to peace and passion,
Mm.
um, otherwise known as life, right? Because life can sometimes be here, it could be here, it could be here, and I feel like it's the pleasure principle. Mm, 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 mm. Dun, 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 dun. So either way, right? Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um,
I can't dance, so I'm trying to figure out. Oh, got it, got it. Hey,
Thank you. So, welcome to the show. I think today there's so much going on, and it's always something going on every single week, every single day. Um, that I can't even say that it makes it easy to talk about because there's so much going on. It's hard to identify what we should talk about in this hour and a half, 2 hour show once a month, right?
Right.
So this week, this week, we're going to talk about we've touched on certain things as far as mental health. We've touched on love, relationality, all those things, and those things will always be very prevalent for us because they're very important, and they're ever evolving. They're
Mm.
ever evolving. The depth of relationships and whatnot, vulnerability that leads to healing, restoration, reset, renewal, all of those things that are super important that led to a conversation piece for today that centers on how to love and be loved even when you lose. How to love and be loved even when you lose. So, in the words of Anita Baker, and I actually should have played this song, giving you the best that I got, because you can only give
Giving
what you got.
you the best that I got, baby. We can't do too
See?
much more because then we got to pay up.
No, no, you did. Yeah, that was good. That was a good 5 seconds. That was good. That was good. So, giving you the best that I've got by Anita Baker featuring LeAnzar Stockley. Um,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was dope. That was dope. That was dope. That was dope. How to love and be loved even when you lose. So when you feel like and you have to be. I'm just going to start here because we're not going to deal with all the maybes and the what ifs and the woo woo woos and the boom boom boom. Giving the best that you have. How to love and be loved even when you lose, how to do that, but you can only do that when you present your authentic self, right? So that discloses so much sensitivity, so much emotional basis, so much vulnerability. So you have to be true to yourself before you can really say, "Oh, I did all I can. I was there, and I can woo woo woo." Or on the flip side, being receptive because sometimes um, our person may not be given the best that we have, but that they have, or they might be given the best that they have. But are we receptive? Do we have
Mm.
so much baggage? Do we have that? Are we packed up with generational trauma? Are we packed up with the usual, the usual? Because what we know doesn't mean that's always what's the best for us, right? What we've
That's come
learned
on,
or
come on.
what we've dealt with over however many years old you are, you've grown. I figured you've grown on this podcast. So at least 20 plus years, 30 plus years, 40 plus years, 50 plus years beyond. Just because that's what we know, that doesn't mean that's always the best. So it's about unpacking the generational trauma and unlearning the usual, what's normal, because it doesn't make it always okay. So how do we get
Mm.
past these things? How do we grow through these things individually and then for our people who surround us, whether it's intimate relationships, friendship, connections, even work. It's so many levels. It's so many things that you have to address, but initially you have to address it for you, and especially in the Black culture I've only been Black, so I can only speak. I guess I can only speak for this. As far as I know, um, I've only been Black, but dealing with generational trauma and the excuses and the BS and the exceptions and all the things that come with it. Oh man, this is this is in my blood.
Mm.
This is
Hmm.
all I
Hmm.
know. This is what I saw
Hmm.
from my dad. This is what I saw
Yeah.
from my uncles. This is what I saw from my grandfathers, or this is what I saw from my mom. This is what I saw from my sisters, my aunties, my grandmothers.
Oh, this
Because
is
it's
good.
not
This
it's
one
not
good.
always the guys. So we're not going to even do that.
Hmm.
Um, General trauma. I'm sorry, generational trauma, and trying to figure out how to break the unusuals, unlearning the unusuals.
Oh,
So, with that long introduction, but I had to make sure y'all knew what I was talking about. I have my
that's gonna be
geniuses.
good.
That's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I
That's gonna
can't
be
wait.
good. We need to tag folks in this one because I like
Well,
seriously.
come on. Who is in charge of the tag? Can I do? How I'm supposed to do it?
I don't know. I don't know either. I'm just saying.
Well, whoever tag them,
Tag them. Look, this one of them. Tag them by name. Like,
tag them by say their name in the Destiny's Child version, in the church version, however you want to do it. Say their name.
Mm.
Um, but I'm happy to have with me my dynamic duo per usual. We do this thing once a month. We're called the show. We have Angel Simmons. We have LeAnzar Stockley. If you are not caught up on who they are by now, I'm gonna need you to catch up. I'm gonna need you to catch up. I'm gonna need you to go to angelsimmons.com. I'm gonna need you to go to leanzerstockley.com. I cannot continue to read their 12-page bios every show. I can't do it. I cannot do it. So angelsimmons.com, leanzerstockley.com. Check both of my genius friends, my dynamic duo out. And with that being said, we are going to go into it. You saw both of their respectively their books, their authors. They're more than just friends. They're more than just beautiful brains. They're authors as well, which probably can all be tied in together. But check them out if you're interested. But I want to dive in with how to love and be loved when you lose.
Talk to me
Generational.
more about the lose part.
Okay. All right. Okay. How to love and be loved even when you lose. Generational trauma. Unlearning the usual. So these all don't have to go together, but in my brain, and y'all know, they know that I got a work brain, right? So I think about a whole bunch of things at one time. So Angel, for your question, um, when you lose, so you could be working on your healing, right? You could be because healing is continual, right? It's never just like I'm healed, girl. I'm healed, baby. It's never. It's continuous. It's continuous. And you might be in a place to where you are. You've allowed yourself to be vulnerable with you. You know what I mean? You've allowed yourself to focus on you've sat in that hard space with you. You've had that hard talk with yourself. You've been in that space and it's like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to stop doing this, I need to stop doing that, I need to do more of this, less of that, vice versa, whatever. Whatever, healthy lifestyles, effective communication, effective listening, healthy listening, all the things that make you a better person. It's continuous and it's not perfect, but you are in the mode to where you're shifting and your growth is definitely prevalent. Okay. So, with that being said, everybody's not there because being vulnerable with yourself is a big deal. I think it's much easier for people to be vulnerable with other people than it is with yourself because you got to sit in your mess. It's like a baby sitting in a dirty diaper. You have to sit in your mess and you have to address these things for yourself. And it ain't nobody but you and your higher being or your ancestors or the universe or whatever your thing is. Um, you have to sit in that. So it's often easier sometimes to unload that stuff on other people that you care about or other people who are present and other people who are listening because you can still give them what you want them to know or what you don't want them to know or whatever facade that goes about. um so even when you lose, so let's say I'm going through it. I'm in the healing process and I've faced my demons, I've faced my vulnerabilities, I've faced dealing with my authentic self and just sat in silence with God and with the ancestors and with the universe and just shook my way through it. But I'm loving on you, Angel. I'm loving on you, Lee. And I know that you have not done the same thing. And it's not me pointing the finger at you. It's not judging you, but it's what you show. It's what you display. Um, because usually those things are petty. But different things have different meaning for other people. So I'm giving you, I'm Anita Baker. I'm giving you the best that I got. Um, but it's not being received, nor is it being reciprocated. How do I, even when I lose, how do I continue to love and be loved even when I lose? I'm giving you my all because I'm secure in who I am now. I'm healing because it's continuous until we die.
Come on.
Um, but I'm there and I'm very cognizant. But you're not there. And each journey is individual, right? It's individual, and then you get to a point to where it's collective. But you're not there.
Mm-hmm.
But I love you. I love you, baby. I love you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love you, dad. I love you, mom. I love you, sister. I love you, cousin. I love you, friend. How do we do that?
I honestly think that you kicked it off with what you said with just when you talked about authenticity. I think when we truly dive and delve into who we are and we assume love not as just something we have, like I was saying when I was talking about the whole "I am love for you" thing, when we actually assume love as an identity, you can't get away from it. I mean, you can, like you said, you're still growing, you're still aligning, you're still healing and doing all these other things you do. But at the end of the day, it's you that's healing. It's
Sure,
you that's
sure,
growing. It's
sure.
you that's whatever. So I think if when we really recognize the oneness with you and what love ultimately is, the essence of what love is, there's no way you can get away from it. Even if so, I've said to some people before, and this has been coming up a lot in some of the work that I do privately. Um, but I said, when I use the example a lot of being a tree, right? I'm a coconut tree now. Before it was apple trees and this is that and the other.
You
But
was apple
if
trees.
I'm,
You were
yeah,
apple
I was
trees
apple.
for a minute.
But if I'm a tree,
Now you're the
if
tree.
I'm an oak tree, let's just use a regular tree that's in the neighborhood. If I'm an oak tree, I ultimately do not get to stop being me just because a dog came and pissed on me. I still have to be what I am, who and what I am, regardless of how you respond or reciprocate back to me. I still am responsible for being who and what I am. And I
Mm,
think that so even when it doesn't work out in my favor because I got pee on my trunk, you know, and I just gotta wait for the sprinklers to come on to water me, but but it's like even when it doesn't go in my favor, and it's a I think it's a personal conviction or personal convincing. I don't even want to say conviction, as if you're on trial, but it's a personal convincing and a personal alignment to say that even when things don't go the way I want it to go, I have to stay me. But as long as love is something that we have, as long as love is just an emotion, as long as love is just a lot of what I've seen us make it be, then it's easy for it to just flop and go and just be like, well, I don't love them no more. I don't, I'm going to stop giving them love because they don't give me love, And a lot of times it's not that people aren't giving us love. It's sometimes they're not giving us love in the way that we understand it or in the way that we have accepted can come from them. If you're expecting a fish to blow air on you, you're going to never think that that fish is loving you. So we also have to move into the realm of understanding that some people simply love a different kind of way. Now, there's nothing wrong with asking them to shift how they do it, but it's like that ultimately they love a different kind of way and we think that they're not loving us. I feel that a lot. If we were to be very transparent and just to be raw and open and exposed, because with this topic and even some of the things you said, there's no way I can even address this without being a kamikaze and putting myself out there like that. I feel it a lot that I feel people don't love. I say this I am love for you stuff, but do you know the truth? I don't feel people love me the way I say I am love for you. I don't believe that they love me the way that I love them. And for them, it could be the same thing. They may feel a little deficit with the way I say I love them because they're looking for me to do this, and this to prove my love. And I'm on the other side thinking, well, I'm looking at your philosophy to determine whether you love me. So it's like people have different anchors that they draw from, which leads them into that whole idea of love, which also goes into that deeper part of what you're talking about with the generational stuff. And then with sometimes, what was it, unlearning the learned or something like that? What you said? Something along those
Yeah,
lines.
no. Unlearning the usual.
Unlearning the usual,
But yeah,
all this
same thing.
this
Yeah.
stuff is huge. We've taken our cues and learned our love from an unhealthy society, first of all, but we've also taken it and learned it from how we grew up in it. So then we made our determinations, and like you said, that's not necessarily right. Necessarily, it can deter us in a way and cause us to miss some things that really was there, but because we're used to love being my wife coming home and cleaning the kitchen, we missed it when she just made dinner.
I hear this. I hear this, but I guess my question is, if I have sown through, so my scenario is based upon you have had this situation. I mean, you've had this conversation rather with your
With some
person,
people.
with your people. Hey, this is where I am. This is my journey. This is what I've been working on. This is what I realized that I need to do, or this is what I've been called to do. Um, so I've been working on me. I've been transparent. I've done all the. What you doing?
I'm hot.
You hot because you got on that sweatshirt
Well,
in where you live.
it's
In
normally
them in the
chilly in here.
deserts. In the deserts, you got on your
these
sweatshirt.
these lights is making me hot.
Now, meanwhile, it's 40 degrees where I am.
Oh,
Yes, stay where you is.
I
But
hear you.
how do I? And this is and maybe I should have used this, in my opening, but this is kind of where because we've given a foundation of how to do these things and how to love authentically and be transparent and be vulnerable and live in your authentic self, and we've given this over time, over quite some time. So I'm hoping that we're all evolving. Everybody who tunes in, even if they don't tune into the live, whenever they play it back, it's always somebody that's always like, hey, I saw you on. I'd be like, who? You saw who? Because, it's super nice, super flattering, super bashful for me though. And they're like, hey, you're on that show, but I saw when you guys were talking about XYZ and that moved me. That moved me. And I'd be like, what? Which show now? I would remember when y'all said school. Oh yeah, oh word. So people are listening. So if we've proceeded proceeded where we should be, right now. If
Mhm,
we've
mhm,
talked about those things, we're growth. We're growth mindset right now, growth mindset. Because we've been doing this
mhm,
show for 2 years. So we should be in a growth mindset, right? We shouldn't have to be going back to those same things that we addressed a year ago. It's okay to touch bases
mhm,
on it, like,
mhm,
hey, just a friendly reminder, boom, boom, boom. But we should be moving forward. So let's just say that our audience, hey, audience, is moving forward with us. So they're growing with us and they're, exposing their vulnerability to themselves and to the people that they care about, that really have meaning. All right. So we're taking off, right? So the people who are surrounding them, and I get that everybody is not going to be in that same space. I have very people close to me, very few, very many people close to me, um, very many, uh, who are not, who I feel like will never be there. Maybe
mm.
based on their age, maybe based on the demographic or whatnot. Um, you ain't gotta, no, you could crunch in my ear. You ain't gotta mute yourself. But I like the background. I need the
Right.
background. You're not bothering me because I was eating on my Skittles. I was eating on my Skittles. If I was smacking in y'all ear, then oh well. Because I was eating on my Skittles. And as soon as y'all start talking, I'm going to be like, but anyway,
Like,
swear to God, if I was smacking y'all, tell me those straight up. Send me a text. But
I'm gonna reach over here in a minute and grab this Easter basket.
you better.
Yes, because I
You
know I
better.
got some Starburst jelly beans in here. Anyway, go ahead.
You keep a good treat. But I just want to be able to know, like, when you've shared these things, Lee, when you share these things, Angel, with your person or your family or whoever your loved one is, like, yo, this is what I'm striving for, this is what I'm achieving, and you're making the forward steps to accomplish this, but they're still in the same place. Bottom line, long story short, how do you, I know I can't push you to be where I am, but how do we love them through it, and then how do we still be present and move forward even when it feels like we're losing, because we're doing our part, we're
isn't that
honestly,
where
genuinely with God, man, we're doing our part. How do
isn't
we,
that where go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just saying, how do we love and be loved through that even when we feel like we might be losing, and it's been a
Isn't that
minute, you
where
know what I'm saying?
isn't that where love really meets the road? Isn't that really where it starts where they say rubber meets the road? But
Right.
isn't that where love is patient comes into play? Love is kind. Love is all of those things that they say, because I don't know all of it. But isn't that where that sort of comes in at? The patience of love. See, this is when I think it seems to me it would the sensing that I would get is like this is where you start to tap into the graduated sense of love, where it's no longer a feeling, but it's a faith
Hmm.
and an embodiment of character.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's still painful though. Like, it's not, because again, the same love we give, right, would be the same love that we need. So if we have our people, our person, and they're not responding in a way that seems fulfilling for us, obviously we're going to be in some level of pain in regards to that. But I think that pain doesn't have to step us outside of, like you said, how do we still love them in it? But I think also maybe in some ways to remain as a loving being or take care of ourselves. And I think that that's where that kicks in. That though, I think that, and that's not. I'm saying it comes out a lot easier than it is in application. But I think that that's where that kicks in, where we start to mature in what love really is.
So I like that, and you know me, I have questions because that sounds great. But what, again? What if I'm there and my person is not there?
This is
That's gonna be
where,
most of the time, ain't it?
listen, this is where you have to sit in it. This is where you have to sit in it. This is where love covers a multitude of crap.
BS. Oh,
Um, and I was just, and when I was reading all of this, that's why I said, tell me more about the losing part. I knew what you was gonna say. I knew what LeAnzar was gonna say. I knew where that conversation was going, and I also knew that this is the part where we got to talk about ourselves and start getting into that nitty gritty that we might not feel like sharing, but we're gonna end up sharing anyway because this is the show where we do that.
The
But
show.
I was
we
just
show it.
I we show it.
Oh,
We do. We show it. But I was just having a conversation back and forth, chat messages about um, vulnerability, and really talking about sitting in that darkness and sitting in those spaces, and how I had to learn how to respond to somebody else's darkness. This was literally the conversation in the last 48 hours. Because when somebody else is going through something, they cannot be there for you. They cannot respond to you. What did you just say? In a fulfilling manner, how I would want to be responded to. They are incapable of doing that when they're going through their own pain. And we have to learn, as lovers, we have to learn how to sit in somebody else's darkness. and how to respond to it. And sometimes responding to it means not saying anything. Okay. Sometimes it's reaching out. Sometimes it's offering parts of ourselves. Sometimes it's sharing stories. Sometimes it's, making a space for vulnerability. And sometimes it's just sitting. It's
Is
just,
this when they're aware or unaware,
it
or
doesn't
both
matter.
of them?
I don't think it matters when they're in pain. They can be the most aware, authentic people that you know, but when you are in pain, you are incapable of sharing that with somebody else. I don't think reciprocation happens when you are in pain or when you're going through something. When you're in the middle of your dark space, you don't um, you don't give back like you would otherwise give back when you weren't in that space. And I think we have to constantly remind ourselves that we've been in that hole. We've been in that darkness. We've been in places where people couldn't reach us. And what would we have liked? What love would you have liked to receive when you were at your ugliest, at your weakest, in your darkest space? How would you like people to treat you?
So what do you
I-
do when
I-
they're not receptive or they may not be aware
You
that they're
sit
even
in it.
in
That's
this space,
That's when you're
and
sitting
they're creating so much trauma and bringing so much toxicity to the connection, to the relationship?
see
How
that's
do
where
you how
and
do
see
you
that's why I think
continue to be
That's a little
present for
different.
them?
that's why I think you have to this because I say that with questions and stuff like this, I really feel, and I say this to a lot of the groups that I do, it's like sometimes there's no answer, no direct answer. There's only wisdom, right? And wisdom may not automatically be a direct answer. It's just what's the wisest thing for me to what's the wisest way for me to respond in this situation, and then to listen for whatever wisdom comes from us. Because again, everything is going to have a different dynamic, because there's tons of times where we've said something to somebody, we've communicated it, and it seems like they just blatantly not, like, so say for instance they're not in what we would recognize as pain. All right, because I personally believe our misalignment to what love is in any kind of way is pain. I believe, somewhere we're in, and we may not even be calling it that. I heard a Yanla one time say horniness is pain. So so depending on how you frame what pain actually is, whatever. But I think that this is, asking for wisdom per that situation. Like, what do I do in this situation, considering who it is I'm speaking to? Because the way I respond to Angel in this situation, with me knowing her, may be different than I respond to you with me knowing you, because I have to take into consideration, this is where knowing each other comes into play too. Oh, this is what Bryson going through right now. The reason she can't meet me at this point of love, so I'm
Right.
I'm losing, is because she can't even meet herself at a point of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
She's not
Mm-hmm.
even willing to be vulnerable with herself.
Mm-hmm.
So she's often not gonna. We're not gonna be able to make the connection for closeness, because close vulnerability is required for closeness. Whereas I may say with Angel, oh, what's going on right here in this situation with her? If I know her the way I know her, she is open or willing to be vulnerable, but something's happening right now that's blocking her eyes from it. So maybe I need to speak to that and say, and be able to directly say, you're in pain, boo. You're in pain. You're responding to me right now because you're in pain. And if she's has done enough work within herself to be at a space where she say, you know what, you're right. Let me back up. And then maybe she can respond and meet me at that place. But I think it's all going to be wisdom. I think it's going to be wisdom, because there's also the wisdom that may say, you go ahead and step back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just say, in whatever you do, let the act be, let that inspired action be loving. You can break up with somebody lovingly. You can say this relationship can no longer be as it is, the way the dynamics are going right now. We can't keep doing this, or I don't have the capacity to continue to do this. Now, this is not me saying I don't love you no more. And this is also not me saying F you. But this is saying the dynamics that's happening between us right now is not love, is not happening in here. This is where we're starting to feel broken. Both of us are still, or well, at least one of us in this instance, is starting to feel broken down. I need to take care of when it gets to the point where this is pulling me out of myself, it's pulling me away from myself. All right. Then I need to look at me, not even them. I need to look at me and see what I need to do to either go get replenished, to, say that this relationship as it has been can no longer be. We need to uncouple if it's your boo thing, or we need to, do whatever we need to do. But I need to look at me in that instance. Because if I'm not able to be me in this, then there's going to be a problem. Because who's showing up? Who's the one showing
You're
up? Is it the
you're
trauma showing up?
the trauma showing up.
Hmm.
That's my thing. The trauma showing up.
And if it's
And
my
you
trauma
know,
showing up, I'm finna do more damage to this relationship, meaning the overall relationship. That means to myself and to you. So if it's the trauma that's showing up, I'm finna do more damage to the overall relationship than help and actual love for this relationship where we're dealing in love. So we got to look at that, and really do our work though. And that's the thing, Bryce. That part you saying about the do, if we're not willing, because none of us are going to ever have arrived, right? Part of
yeah,
our
it's
relationship
forever.
is for growth. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So it's like you can still be and recognize, man, I'm in trauma right now, and stay in your relationship.
yeah,
Bring that awareness, and
yeah,
then choose to not respond from that, or ask your partner, listen, I'm in some heavy. I've said to my significant other several times, I am in fear right now. I am in fear, and when I'm in the midst of fear, I have a hard time being my love self. I have a very hard. It's almost as if the fear is trying to cast that out, and I don't want that to happen right now. The reason I talk about trust issues, we say trust. I mean, we pride ourselves on trust issues. I don't trust nobody. Whatever. That is a trauma. That is a trauma, and when we operate from that trauma, we're dealing that energy. That's the energy we're putting out that we haven't transmuted yet. We haven't transformed it yet. So guess what we're going to do? We're just going to transfer it, all in the name of love. We're just going to transfer that particular energy. But to be able to say, I'm in this fear, and I don't trust you right now. And I don't like not trusting you right now because that's not my natural state. It's too much work for me. That's too much work. And that's pulling me out of my natural state of being. So I can't function the way I'm supposed to function. So I need to do what I need to do. And I need you to help me though. If it's something where but like you're saying, if it's a situation where they're not responding to you and not helping you, then you got some choices to make.
I think there's a point where we have to step outside of a situation in order to not take it personally. Um, when you know that somebody else is dealing with their own pain, their own trauma, their own um, generational mess, and you also know that you have been your authentic self, you have extended love, you have offered your heart, you have given all of this energy and time and efforts into this space, and you know that, you know you've done that. Um, what's the song? You gave them the best that you had. You did all of that. Then you know that their response is not, it doesn't match. When you know their response doesn't match what it is that you're giving, you know that's not you. So this is not me at fault. I think a lot of us lovers have spent more time than we should have on feeling like either we were doing something wrong, or we weren't doing enough, or we weren't doing the right thing because of the responses we were getting from other people. And it's not until they are outside of their trauma and they can see it, um, and acknowledge you in it, and then you're getting that affirmation, that you needed from somebody to say, hey, I see you,
Hmm.
I appreciate you. I know what you're doing. but that doesn't change where they are, what the space is, or what the situation is. But I think a lot of times, if we just had that affirmation, it would change everything. Knowing, okay, cool, it's not me, it's not me, because we always want to do something, give more, but we don't always get it, and we always don't get it in a timely fashion before we, uh, combust in our efforts. Um, so I think it's a point where we have to be able to step outside of that situation to see, okay, this is not personal. This is them. This is not me. It's you. It's not me. It's you. Clearly,
Mhm.
um, and still be able to be that vessel and that conduit of love, um, from a distance, until they get it together. Like
It's
he
so
said,
it's so it's so tiring though.
yes, it's
It's so
exhausting.
tiring. It's so draining, especially when they're not even aware, or especially when they have the mindset, yo, this is how I've always been, or yo, I got this from my mom, or this is the household I grew up in. My grandmother was like this. My grandfather was like this. My
And
loved
they
one,
were wrong.
my loved one was like this. But if they're not able to receive, the fact that hey, I need to shift this, and their generational trauma is more overwhelming than whatever their vulnerability is, or them being able to be receptive to change, then what do you do? Because you were attracted to that person for something
Mhm.
other than that, and this
Mhm.
stuff probably
Mhm.
came a little further down the line. So
Mhm.
what do you do? Because you're here, this person is here, you guys have spent time, become attracted to each other, or maybe this is somebody that you already know and you already love, but you've had an evolution, and you realize that yo, I can't get down like this no more. I understand this is what it's been for however many years, because we're family or whatever the case may be, but I can't get down like this anymore because I've evolved, and I see your hurt and I see your pain, and I've shared the same hurt and I've shared the same pain because we're family and we come from the same whatever whatever, or we're close friends and we come from the same whatever or whatever. But I've chosen to take this route, but they haven't chosen to take this route. But of course, you love them anyway.
Mhm.
How do you work? How do you work through that? I don't. This might be a question where there's no real answer. I don't know.
Mhm.
I know
You
y'all
just,
my genius
I
friends.
feel
Y'all my
like
genius friends.
I feel like you just gave all the answers, and you just mirrored, exactly what LeAnzar was saying with what is the wisdom that I need for in this particular situation at this stage. You just said it's not working for you. It's not healthy for you. You're on a different journey. You're going in a different direction, and that's what it is. It is what it is. Um, Everybody can't, coexist in the same manner based
Right,
on our trauma. So what
right.
what is that word you use? I had never heard that. Uncouple. You said you
Uncouple.
might have to uncouple yourself, but that's where you have to figure out those healthy boundaries, and that distance that you have to put in there. That doesn't mean you're not open. That doesn't mean you're not loving. That doesn't mean you're not. That doesn't mean you don't care. Um, this is not necessarily a you got to protect your energy situation,
Right, right, right,
but
right, right,
in order for you to thrive, in a healthy environment, sometimes you have to change environments.
right. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. And I
If
think that we have this idea too that, and people think I think this all the time, because I talk about love a lot, and I talk about, I don't like to use the words, I don't say I don't like to use the words. I don't like breakup. I don't. I just don't. I don't like breakup. I don't like divorce. I don't like whatever. But I also don't like people staying somewhere being abused. I can hold both in my hand. Do you understand me? So it's like, so my cry, and if people really listen to the message that I teach, it's let's all get it together so we don't have to keep doing this. But you know what I mean? So that the person who has to walk away don't have to. It's like, so let's, and then the person that walks away at the first sign of trouble, cut that out. Because
Woo!
you're
Is
just
mine
gonna
on
walk
mute?
away in,
Okay. Woo!
you're just gonna walk away into another issue with somebody else. Like you're going to constantly be playing musical chairs if that's the case. All right. So it's saying everybody do my overall message is let's each one do our part to be built up in love. That's the overarching thing. But there are those spaces and there's those times when it's saying the way you're acting and the way you're responding with where you are with your level of consciousness, I can't expect you to be nowhere but where you are. All right. But with your level of consciousness and the way that you're functioning, trying to make this is not working. All right. This doesn't mean, again, that's the whole idea. I've said there's very few people, there's no people that I can think of right now, at least. Something may come to my mind a little bit later, but that would even show you that this is how rare this happens with me. I've never cut anybody off. I haven't had to. Not because people haven't done things that was foul, but because in the midst of it, I'm still going to be me. And your toxicity, I can never say that word.
You just said it.
Or whatever. Your toxicity cannot infiltrate me as long as I'm being my energy. You can be getting on my nerves. That's different than you're poisoning me. That's why I said the best way to protect your energy is to be your energy. So it's like I'm not receiving your toxic. We go outside all the time. There's dirt on us all the time, right? But then when it starts to absorb into our skins, that's when it really becomes a major problem. So it's like I've never had to cut anybody off. I've just aligned myself and sometimes had to present my energy, whatever that was going to be, present my energy, my spirit that I feel like I'm sourced from God, presented a little bit more. And if anything, they walked away, or they chose, listen, we can't do this. If you're going to, I just had somebody, listen, I'm as a what I do, from the minister thing to the counselor thing, whatever. I have people all the time.
Marker, match your shirt and your hat.
Yeah,
I didn't right?
I ain't even noticed that. I didn't notice that. And this matches too.
Come on, coordination. Shout out to John Witherspoon, coordinate.
I think my draws. Oh wait, I ain't got nothing.
Well, because you have you got draws. What are you got a draws line?
Yeah, I do. It's called Underneath by Zar.
Okay, and they could find that at.
They can find that at underneathbyzar.com or underneath_by_Zar ZAHR.
Okay.
On Instagram. Yeah,
Proceed.
That's the best way to go. Go Instagram. But anyway, I have people that try to guilt trip me with certain things because again, I'm a counselor, I'm a minister, I talk about love all the time. So it's as if I'm supposed to just bow to everything they ask and everything they want and everything God don't even do that. And He is love. So what would make you think that I'm supposed to do that? And if you ask me for some money, and one, if I ain't got it, I ain't got it. Two, if I discern that I shouldn't be giving it to you at this particular point, first of all, it would be my money, not your, and I discern that I don't want to give it to you this time. That's not me judging you necessarily. That's me just saying no. It's me actually saying no. But then there's some try to do the guilt trip where you're supposed to be yes, I am that. I am that. And what about that makes you think that I'm supposed to answer your every beck and call or your every
That's the implementation of boundaries, though.
Exactly. And for me, boundaries really means just you being you.
Yeah, it's not me. It's not mean.
It's not.
No.
It's not. It's actually very protective. How can I put it?
It's very
really
loving.
Set our boundaries up right,
it's really loving.
Very loving. Very loving for you and for me. I think even when we're asking for wisdom, and the wisdom has to be God, how do I be me in a way that me being me actually helps people to thrive, even if they don't know it? Because you may get upset with me because I didn't do something your way, but ultimately, me not doing this or me not, responding in a way that's like I'm trying to win you back, actually was loving for all of us. Love really can help all of us win, even when we don't recognize that we're winning.
I want to before we kind of shift just a little minor shift. I want to shout out your camera. and how this fancy camera that you had. Because mine, I could, you see, I don't nothing move but my head, but my big old head, right? When Lee dips, when he won't, you see, hands, give me hands, please, give me hands, move. So talk with your hands, talk with your hands,
Talk with
talk
my
with your
hands.
hands.
Talk with my
When you
hands.
talk with your hands, it moves. You're being modest now, but
I
earlier,
am.
there it is, boom, bow, boom. So this
Wow.
fancy camera, I just want to shout out this camera. We're not going to credit the maker because they're not giving us any
That's
sponsorships or
right.
anything,
Right.
but
We'll
we're gonna.
just say that it's not Apple.
It's not at
Hashtag not Apple.
boy, boy. But I love it because it's very animated. It accentuates what you're saying. I don't know if you can see it or feel it the way that we do on this end, but it accentuates what you're saying. So even your head gestures, your hand gestures, how your body shifts based on what you're saying and how you're feeling, it accentuates that, and it's very accommodating. So I love it. I'm sure the people on here love it. It's a dope thing, and I need to figure out how to get it. I probably got to set up a payment plan or something. I don't know if they got layaway or whatever, but it's not Apple, so I probably can figure it out. Marnisha, it's not Apple. You hear me? You hear me? It's not Apple. It's not Apple. But oh, we got a whole bunch of. I didn't even know all the people. Hey, hey, Wendy. Y'all know you'll have to tell me to check the things for the people. Hey, Wendy. Hey, Marnisha. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in and all of these comments. I ain't even see them till right now. So they just put them up. Thank y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. Feel free to share. We are on
Please, because this is a topic that I think
everybody live. Everybody live. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Angel. Where are we? What you eating? Yep. No, you gotta talk through it. You gotta talk through it, friend. I was talking through my Skittles and I ate 2 bags.
I went and dug out my Easter basket because I'm still mama's baby. Um, and I had a bag of Skittles jelly beans.
That's what I was eating. My Skittles, 2 bags.
I also got a bag of Jelly Belly jelly beans. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here. But hey, Lee, I'm matching you today.
So, Angel, where do the people find us? We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're
Yes, they can
on.
find us on Facebook, on LeAnzar Stockley's Facebook page, on Love's Great Design Facebook page, or on Brysen Williams' YouTube page. We're on Facebook and YouTube. And we will share the link after the show so you can catch the replay if you missed the beginning.
Yeah. Thank y'all for joining in. This is the show. This is the show. Aw, I like that. This is the show.
They can't
I
say nothing. I get the Easter basket every year. And I give
you
my
do.
mama one as well. So we exchange.
Angel is mama's baby to the max. If mama's baby was a picture in the dictionary, it would show Angel
you
Simmons
ain't
straight up.
lying. You ain't
Straight
lying.
up, it would show Angel Simmons.
I spoiled my
For
mama
real.
just like she spoiled me. She said, "You ain't getting
And
no
she
Easter
expect
basket."
her and she expect her men to spoil her the same way. See, here we go, that generational. Let me tell you.
Hey, come on, that's a good. That's a good segue because that's where I was going. Generational trauma.
Why you in
Boy,
my business?
boy, you bad.
What
You
did I
bad.
say?
You bad. You
And
bad.
this is the expectation. Bring me my Easter basket.
But do you want a partner or a parent?
Or
It's
a
the same
basket.
letters, minus that. Just asking for the people in the back because
Is that a Spider-Man? What kind of thermos is that?
thermos.
I had to go look and
Oh,
see who he was talking to.
What kind of
Wonder
oh,
Wonder
Woman,
Wonder
Woman?
Woman.
Okay,
of
Lord.
course. Listen, I can't even answer that question. I just want
But
my Easter basket.
listen, that keeps coming up though. That keeps coming up a lot because I asked a couple the other day, that one of the couples I'm working with, and I said, "Is your relationship based off of skills and strengths, or is it based off of tradition and based off of what mom and them used to do? Your roles in the relationship, is it based off of the way you was raised and the way? And not saying that there's anything necessarily inherently wrong with it, but people are asking for. Have y'all noticed how many men are now saying that they're not looking to just take care of no woman.
Mm.
This is not, and in my opinion, this is not men deviating from the role of a man or not displaying masculine energy. Now, some people will argue that. If it were, that's a man's job to provide. Yeah, I agree. I do agree it's a man's job to provide. But I also believe it's a woman's job to provide
Let me
and
tell you,
protect.
in this here world, everybody got to do their part.
Everybody got to do
Everybody
their
got,
part to be built up
because
in love.
because one of them jokers over across the water can push that button at any time. We got a joker over here, more so than any that could, I believe still probably got hands on that button. Everybody got to do their part. Everybody
Everybody got to do
has to
their
do their
part.
part. Um, I want to go into and you segues. I mean, are amazing, and I'm just so glad that we all kind of the three of us think on the same fashion, even without addressing it. We're just there. I want to go. We've shared on how the person who is in continued healing because it's never complete. It's continued. Till your last breath. But how do we support the folks who are on that flip side, so the reverse, generational trauma. This is what I know, man. This and and they stand on it and they're proud, or either
Mm.
they're proud or unable to switch over or unable to see what the concern is. Yo, this my man, my hey, yo, my daddy did this, my granddaddy did this, it's in my blood, and you'd be like, hey, it's in my blood, so this is just kind of what we do, this is what I do. But they don't identify it as generational trauma. How do we help these friends, these families, these lovers, these plus ones, these partners, these whoever in your circle? How do we help them identify and then grow through it? Grow through it. Grow through it. Identify and then grow through it.
I think one good way to do it is to ask them, how is that helping us? How so you did it this way all along. And your answer can be, well, is something wrong with you? Because you ain't
Right.
responding to the way me and granddaddy and them used to do it.
Right.
You could answer that if you want to, but then again, here's well, now what's the wisdom for how to respond to that? But asking that question of, okay, so that's the way you've always done it, huh? So how has that
Right.
helped you? How has that helped you? And how is that helping us? Where is the conflict? Why are we in conflict? So is that actually working? Or just because we've always done it this way, or just because we were raised this way, is it always really, is it really working?
It works for me because that's all I know.
It works for you because
is
that's all
is
you
what
know.
is what this person is. That's all I
Right,
know.
right. It's right. That's all I know. And it's like, and if you're not willing to learn something different, because you're not in this world by yourself, the conversations of you're not an island, and that you're not in this world by yourself, but not just saying that as a manipulation to try to get to manipulate them to whatever, but to actually say that's actually not the nature of our being either, to be in this world by ourselves. So either you learn another way, or you learn to collaborate that way that you have, because it's not even saying that you have to totally get rid of it if it's not majorly trauma, right? If it's not a traumatic thing, it's just a generational pattern or
Mm.
whatever. So it's like, then either you learn how to collaborate that with somebody else, or you learn how to be by yourself, or find somebody that's gonna be willing to stay ungrowing with you in that, you know, if it's one of those things, But again, a lot of things when it coming from trauma, the actual trauma, trauma, that part of things. I heard somebody just recently say trauma is not what happens to you. Trauma is what's happening inside of you because of what happened to you.
Mm.
You know, and even the whole idea of vulnerability. They saying vulnerability actually means capability of being wounded. So it's like, are you going to live your life from the wound? And notice I said capability of being wounded. So
Right.
just because you're vulnerable, that don't mean that you're wounded. All right, you have to be vulnerable in order to grow in relationships. But it's like, if you're wounded, are you living your life from the wounds of the past? Or are you living it? Because if you're living your life from the wounds of the past, and if you're living your lives because granddaddy did it this way, grandmama did it this way, blah, 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 did it this way, you're not being you. You're being them. And yeah, it's in your blood. But every once in a while, our blood might get toxified and need to be detoxed and cleansed and
I got,
renewed.
I got a couple of things to say. I had this thing saved in my phone from a week ago that's very appropriate for today, and I'm gonna throw an illustration out with it. It says the grandmothers gave the mothers bad advice out of survival. The mothers gave the daughters bad advice out of pain. The daughters must take what they've been told and unlearn what doesn't fit. Breaking generational curses sometimes looks like not listening to your elders. What it reminded me of this story about the newlywed couple that they got married, and she was cooking a ham for the first time, and she cut the end off the ham, and the husband asked her, "Why you cut the end off the ham?"
Was it spiral?
And she didn't have an answer. She's like, my mom always cut the end off the ham, so that's what I learned how to do. He said, maybe you should ask. Maybe you should ask why she did that. And she asked her mom, why you cut the end off your ham? And the mom said, well, my mother always cut the end off the ham, so that's what I did. And she said, we asked your grandmother why she cut the end off the ham. She went and found her grandmother, asked the question, why you cut the end off the ham? She said, because I didn't have a pan big enough to fit it.
Mm-hmm.
I cut the end off the ham because my pan was small, and that was the only way to get the ham in. So all these generations just been cutting meat, just throwing away good meat,
Good meat. You
good
could put
meat
that in some soup.
when you could have just got a bigger pan. And what I thought about is how big is our capacity for love? How big is our capacity for change?
Mm-hmm.
Some people have very small capacities where
It's
they
getting
couldn't
smaller
hold. They couldn't
today.
hold. You can't hold. People can't hold change. They can't hold correction. They can't hold new knowledge in this movement that we've been trying to do with relationality
Constructive criticism,
and
all the
love
things.
languages. They can't hold. They don't
Mhm.
have the capacity for change in relationship. So that translates to the next generation that will have an even smaller capacity.
You know why we don't have the capacity? This is my theory. One of the reasons we don't have the capacity because everybody is constricting. Everybody is closing in. We're all closing in, even with our boundaries. Our boundaries are making things smaller. It's making our relationships smaller. The reality of our being. I'm not saying everybody's supposed to be in your inner court,
Your
but the truth
boundaries are your
is
deal breakers.
all of that because people are using the word boundaries, and I'm using it now in the trending way that is being
Mhm.
used. My boundaries, and everybody's busy protecting themselves. Our boundaries as relational beings, we should be expanding. If evolution is, we should be expanding. The universe, they say God spoke the world into it, and it is continually expanding at the speed of light, right? We're the only things doing this.
Mm.
We're constricting because, and it's coming from not just, it's coming because we've been traumatized in some time. So it's not, I'm not blaming people for it because it's like the way this thing is set up, we're all learning to be more protective from each other. It's causing us to constrict, and that's causing our capacity to be less than what it's. We don't got time for nothing. We don't want to fit, and you better with these Gen Zs, they're not doing that. Your job. I was talking to a guy, and he was like, he's working with some younger kids, and he was like, oh yeah, so you have to clean this, whatever. And he was like, oh no, I'm good on that. He's like, but this is your job. Like this is what you were hired for. He's like, oh, well, I'll quit. I'm going. I'm gonna quit. And that's what we're doing. We're just kind of like, listen, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not taking that. I'm not dealing with
Immediately no.
capacity is good. Immediately no. No, oh, I'm good. I'm good with that. You got me effed up. I'm good.
Right,
I'm
right,
good.
right, right.
I'm
Though,
good with
right.
that. So I think our capacity, we're sort of in some ways, and I say this respectfully to the reality that it's not everybody, right? but it's like we're constricting. We're doing what, Dr. Caroline Leaf research on the brain, and when love is going in and stuff like that, it flourishes, it blossoms like a tree, right? But when it's not, all of the dendrites, the little whatever's in our brain, the neural pathways shrivel up like a dead tree. It constricts like a decrepit hand, and that's what we
Come on,
tend.
camera, because when you did that, it zoomed in on you, and it was like real animated.
All that.
That was dope.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I think that's playing a huge piece in us. But again, sometimes rightfully so, we keep hurting each other. And then we don't know what to do when we hurt each other. So it's not even, I honestly don't think that is that we get hurt. I think it's we don't know what to do once we get hurt that causes us to, because if you dance with anybody, you might step on their toe. Do you get rid of them because they stepped on your toe? Or do
Cut
we
your toe off. Just got
or
stepped
do we cut the toe off? Do we learn how to deal with, I've said it a lot in grief recovery, in the grief recovery work and stuff that I do, we say a lot of times to the grievers, you know, hmm, I don't even really know how to phrase this in a way that'll make sense. I'll come back to that because
Okay.
I'll tell you how I. Hmm, hmm, hmm.
I want to go back to something you
Okay.
said I thought was really interesting about the whole idea about cutting people off, and how when you're walking in your
You
authentic
better not read my mind.
identity,
You better not read my
um,
mind.
but when you're walking in your authentic identity, you notice that you don't. It's like the trash takes itself out. We've said that before, but anybody that I no longer associate with, or something happened, there was a break in a relationship or whatever, I didn't block them. I didn't delete them. I didn't, there was no whole dissertation or final words or anything. It just stopped. And I once I, had healed that part of me and figured out what I was going to do, and how to get past that, or how to get through it rather, um, they just stopped. They just stopped. It was never a situation where I had to cut somebody off, block, delete, none of that. I never had to do that. And I still watch my social media. I see when they like posts, I see when they heart stuff, I see when they comment on stuff. But these are not people that I would, allow back into my circle, or spend time with, or anything like that, because of those boundaries that needed to be set. But it was never a physical boundary that was actually set. It was just me owning myself.
Mm-hmm.
This, I can't do that. I have to do this. I have to figure out how to heal from this. I need to make sure this doesn't happen again, make sure I'm not, doing this to anybody. And that was the change. It was never a block and delete, stay away from me, I gotta write up a warrant. It was never any of that. And it was always somebody just removed themselves from my
Mm-hmm.
space. They
That's
removed
usually my
themselves from
case.
my
Yeah.
circle. They removed
Mm-hmm.
themselves. They stopped messaging less and less. They stopped, it had to be my response to that. What was my response to that? That was
I
the
think that
change.
that I think that comes in a lot. Yeah, it's like people recognize when you start. Somebody asked me, because some of the groups that we do are like narcissistic, whatever, and people always say, "Oh, I'm an empath, so I attract narcissists." It's like, okay, that's fine, because you don't just attract narcissists, you attract other people too.
Hmm.
You just recognize the narcissist a little bit more. But the thing is, how do I stop attracting narcissists? You're not going to. What you're going to do though is, or what you need to do is, stop responding to them
That's it.
in the way that feeds them.
That's it.
Mm,
I don't feed nobody. That's it.
Yeah, it's like, just stop responding in a way that feeds them. And at some point, now you may have to deal with it for a minute, depending on but they're gonna stop, because you're no longer feeding that, whatever. So it's the same thing with people that come in a certain way. It's kind of like, hey, you're being belligerent. Now I do let them know. It's like, you're being belligerent, or you're being whatever, and that is not working for me, and I can't keep responding to this. I'm here. but I'm not going to keep responding. I just had this happen with somebody that was in my inbox that needed help for something, mental health things. It was going on grieving things. But I was like, your grief is causing you to be rude.
Mm.
It's causing you to be rude
Mm-hmm.
to people.
Oh.
And understand that I'm trying to help you to the best of my ability, but I can't do that if you're going to be rude. Nor can I refer you to somebody else if I think you're going to abuse them
Mm.
when you get them. Not cutting off help, just saying when you recognize yourself enough to calm yourself down enough, or to whatever, then I'm right here. I'm right here.
So yeah, that's excellent from the both of you for sure. For sure, for sure. I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago. Um, how do we shift from, or how do we support someone or share with someone who's used to being hurt versus used to being whole or loved, because we expect
Mm.
people to just be able to identify what their
Yeah,
issues are. Everybody can't do
yeah,
that. That
yeah,
is not
yeah,
simple for everybody. Everybody does not have their mindset, and grief comes in different type of ways, and hurt
yeah.
and trauma comes in different type of ways for people. So how do we expect them to just even begin to navigate, in relationally, maybe where we are, or where we're hoping for them to be, or where we're trying to love them to? How do we expect them to do that when that's just not a familiarity for them?
We
Mm-hmm.
don't. And I think that's part of it. We cannot realistically expect them to accept it when they have that history of hurt and betrayal or loathing or depression or anything else that's happened. The only thing you can be is who you are to them. The only thing you can present is love and truth and honesty and respect, and be consistent in what it is that you are offering in that space. Eventually, they will catch on to where she's always this, he's always this. I've had a lot of issues, and they have always been an anchor. They have always been a space that was peaceful, a space that was nurturing, an environment that was soothing. You cannot expect them to receive that immediately, but when you are consistent in your actions, in your authenticity, um, that's something that they will see. You can continue to pray that that the eyes of their heart be enlightened, that they are able to be receptive and perceive you as the truth that you are. But you can't expect that. The only thing you can
Mm-hmm.
be is consistently you, and
Mm-hmm.
available and open, and that's something that they will accept. It might take a couple months, it might take a couple of years, it might take a
Mm-hmm.
decade,
Yeah.
but you are consistently who you are every time. You show up as you every time,
I was,
and
And
I
they
was
it's
gonna
no
will.
say how much
expectations. It's no
I was.
expectations. I don't go in, and or I don't suggest that people, because it's not about me, y'all. I'm just the moderator. Y'all see my face. But I don't expect people to go in with expectations. So my question was not about expectations. It was about acceptance and support, and even maybe guidance, with folks who are,
Not there yet.
stuck in this rut. Yeah, just not there yet. And
Yeah.
I know it's
It,
difficult, and it's a journey, and there's no time limit on anybody's journey. But it's depends on where you are, where your
I
person
was gonna
is, and
say.
like you said, a couple of days, a couple of months, a couple of years, a
Yeah.
decade, and you might have to let that, you might have to cut that person, let that person be where they are with you not present, because they
Or you
might have
just be
a.
where you are. If
You
you're
said
always
that,
where you are, it doesn't matter.
and you saying that let them be. That was a good, like that's usually how I say with people. Because my first response to that would have been how much time you got, right? Because everybody got a different amount of time, and everybody have a different amount of time they want to invest in something. So it's like there's a scripture that says, "When thou art converted, strengthen your brother." So this is where we find what wisdom can I use in this relationship with this person. All of those things that Angel said, it's like, what wisdom could I use in this relationship? If this is something that I'm not immediately trying to cut off, or someone I'm trying to, whatever, how can I strengthen them to get them to that place, to help them get to
Right.
that place, to where, not willfully force them to that place, but willingly, meaning accept
Yeah.
where they are and that they
Yeah.
are, and
Yeah.
strengthen them to get to
Yeah.
the place where they are ready to deal with it, if that's what they want, because they may not ever really want that, but it's done through your model and through your example. But you said, Bryson, because I said to somebody before, I don't generally use I don't, this is me, I'm not saying anybody else in the world, whatever. I don't generally use the word let them go. I don't. I just let them be. It's like, I have to just let them be. And sometimes
Right.
letting people be hurts me because I want them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like, I want you
Yeah.
for me. I want you for me.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to learn, or trying to embrace, or trying to embody the idea of, like, just let them be. Because if I trusted, and sometimes I didn't trust it, it just happened. I don't think. But if I trusted God with me, I got to trust Him with you.
Yo,
If you say
that
what a
grace is heavy. That grace is
it's,
heavy for
it's heavy.
sure. Yeah.
It's heavy for sure.
Yeah.
And that don't always work on our timeline.
Yeah.
But it's like, at the end of the day, this is why I don't be heavy in the whole, like, even with, like, on the religious side of things, heavy preaching sin and stuff like that to people. For what? It's kind of like, man, I don't got time for that. And it's not that anybody that knows me knows I believe in holiness, or wholeness,
Right.
or whatever. But I also know that the way we come to it, because even, oh, this is good. The way we even come to that a lot of times is when we're in relationship with uh, God, higher power, whatever. There's not just this, just do what I told you to do. There's teaching that happens. See, the problem with the generational stuff, when we say grandma and them say cut the end of the ham and cut the end of the ham, cut the end of the ham, they did it but didn't tell why. So the
And
wisdom
nobody
was
asked.
never learned, and
Nobody asked.
nobody asked. It was like, just follow the leader. But the wisdom was never learned. I believe that the spirit of life, God, whatever, teaches us as we go. He gives us reason. This is why I'm saying don't do this. That's where the wisdom comes in play. Not just do what I told you to do. All right, and we've been raised in families that was just do what I tell you. Just do what I tell you to do, or just do what I do, right? Because by default, we're as humans, the way we're made, our nature, we're sort of we mirror one another. That's the way we're made. We're never going to get away from that. And we also you learned language by being around people that talked English, right? You picked up your accents because they had an accent. If any one of us was born over in Asia, as black as we are, we would speak like them. We would talk like them if that's where we were actually born. So we're environmental creatures. So we're raised in that kind of way. But like you said, Bryson, that doesn't always mean that it's right, or doesn't always mean that it's even normal. We live in this world that even just use America, because I would say the world, but it's just using America. We have a society that, I'm sorry, is not healthy and not
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah.
But we're learning all of our cues from it. I just posted the other day, we're learning how to love from an unhealthy society. And everybody's going along with it. Everybody's going with it. But our soul knows. Our soul is recognizing something different. And I think even those people who aren't ready, like you said, that it's in these, I think their soul knows. And if we can have small conversations with them to drop them from here to here, from head to heart, small conversations, not throwing it on them too heavy, small conversations from here to here, where they actually listening, then you start to get to that space. I'm seeing this every week in some of the work that I do, in some of the groups that I do, and some of my private clients. And I'm seeing it all the time. It's just a matter. So that's why I say it depends on how much time you got, because it may not happen within that hour, 2 hours, 6 weeks, or
Sure. Sure.
6 months, or whatever. It didn't happen that way for us, except
Right.
for some awakening or some huge revelation that might have happened quickly. But even that probably was being groomed. Hate to use that word.
So no, yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're saying the key to unlearning the usual is
One, having a teachable heart, humility. Be humble enough to say that it's possible. that what I've learned, not even to say that what I've learned was wrong, maybe to say it's possible that I can still learn some other things to add to what I've already
It's something beyond it.
learned. Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's a huge key to it. I think that's a huge key to be interesting that you asked that too, because today I was driving and I heard teachable.
Hmm.
I heard we need to be teachable. When you're teaching, listen, when you're teachable, nobody even has to stand up and say they're a teacher.
Yeah.
Your openness, your heart just is like, I'm ready. I think we're wired for truth. So it's like when we approach life with a openness, so to speak, it's wired for truth. When truth starts to talk, it'll hear it. And its first response might be to resist it. But
Yeah.
if we're calibrated in that way, it's going to hear it at some point. And again, there's some people that just ain't there. There's some people that just don't even want to be there. There's some people that just ain't gonna ever be there. I promise you, there's some people that hollering things in churches and stuff. And if Jesus or God came down himself and said, "This ain't what I meant," they still gonna stick to it.
Right, 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 right.
You know what I mean? So everybody's at different places. Everybody's where they are. But I think for those who are willing to heal, those who are willing to grow, I believe our audience are people who are like, listen, I might not agree with everything y'all say, but there's something in me that's searching for truth. There's something in me that's wanting more. There's something in me that recognizes that, yeah, grandma and them did do it this way, but something in me ain't 100% sold. Our soul knows a song that our lips are not saying.
I think a lot of us have lost our curiosity to
Mm.
even question what we see. I think if we ask more questions about even the most obvious stuff, we find out right away the pan didn't fit. We find out right away. You know, he didn't have no chair. That's why he sat on the couch every day.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happened. She
We
cooked
use
every
what
day
we
because
have.
she got home before he did, not because it was her place to do
That's the way
so.
it's supposed to be.
Or he
But
washed,
Or
but
because
but
she
but
liked,
even
or
still
because she
though,
liked
you
to cook.
know, or he washed the dishes because she had a shoulder injury and she couldn't pick up the stuff. This is why he
I got
washed
a question.
the dishes.
I got a question. This is a
Nobody
little
asks
off
these
topic.
questions.
This is a
Go.
little off topic, but not really off topic.
Hmm.
Traditionally speaking, or just how we normally see society, the woman cooks, right? Why is it that the men barbecue?
Because fire was dangerous.
Oh, is that what it
Fire
is?
was
Because I was
dangerous.
like, it was always the thing. Oh yeah, he out there on the
Gasoline,
grill, but
fire,
he ain't touching a pot and
propane.
pan.
Right. He can be on the grill because we can't have women out there with smoke and fire and
Oh,
utensils.
never. Okay, I just always wondered that. It was like this is pretty interesting
Yeah.
at how that. Yeah.
so pretty
Okay.
much just the chauvinistic stuff. But I mean, nowadays most women know how to get on the grill.
And nowadays, listen, this stuff don't even really apply
It
as much
don't
because
matter.
what are we doing now with gay couples? So, which unfortunately, I see a lot of them trying to fall into the heteronormative way of whatever. But it's like the reality is they're here, and if all of the talk is men do this, women do this, and what about the people that's a man and a man and a woman and a woman? Well, but then here comes the stupid questions of, well, which one of y'all played a woman role, or which?
But that's only if you embrace the titles, right? That's only if you allow the titles and all those things to consume you or let other people's ignorance infiltrate what you
If
already have
right, I was gonna say
established.
let other people, because sometimes those questions are coming from people not in that relationship. It's coming
Hmm.
from the outside, looking at, well, who the woman? Well, who played? It's like they're the one and woman. That's husband and
Hmm.
husband, or
And what
whatever.
do
And I
you
know
do
that
when
that's
you've
not.
been living by yourself all your life? You cook, you clean, you grill, you what? And
You
then you
do it
get in
all.
a relationship with somebody else, and then what? You've been doing both of y'all have been doing all the things.
All the right,
How do you
right.
decide then?
See, that's why I personally believe relationships should be based off of skill and strengths, and not necessarily the traditional roles of what traditional roles would be. And even if you're both strong in those things, then this is where we collaborate. This is where we decide that This is what we're going to be. But we get stuck in the generational patterns of things. We get stuck in how mom and them used to do it. We get stuck in, and again, it's not saying this is not a bashing of tradition either,
Yeah,
because there's some things that we pull from tradition
yeah,
that is like, man,
yeah, yeah.
it's dope.
Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate
Yeah,
the
and it was
ancestors for sure.
foundation, and it's got us where it's gotten us to.
Yeah,
And it's like,
structure. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like some of tradition should just be some of it. It's again with being teachable. It's saying I learned this, but I'm open to
to
learning
learn
this
more,
too, to learn more. Yeah, and to
Mhm.
realize that there are more ways to do things. There's a song saying there's more than one way of
to
skinning a
skin a
cat.
cat.
In your cats, but it's like there's more than one way to do it. And I think learning those ways makes us well-rounded people. I think it also, y'all have heard me say before when we talk about love languages, it's our duty or our job and should be our privilege and our passion to become multilingual when it comes to love. Let me learn how to love in multiple languages. They ain't all comfortable for me. Physical touch is my lowest on the love language test. But
Same.
but I can't be no physical touch if I'm in a relationship. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it have to be. Well, I've always just been quality time. I've just always been this way. I've just always, yeah. No, and again, that's my personality.
And you
Well,
didn't. You would
y'all be
Personality is
still,
not who I
violating
am.
me when I see y'all. Physical
and you
touch
would
ain't y'all thing, cause y'all be
no,
violating me when I
and you
see
would
Well,
y'all.
we
still,
be
and
happy to
see, and
see
what?
you.
How do you define it?
I be,
How do
I
you
be
Oh, do
just
define
I
it?
to
define
my
it?
child.
I'm just saying, how do you define physical touch? Because that might be different for some people than
Everything is
others.
different for everybody. I mean, that's a
Right.
whole
But
different
physical, I might
conversation.
not
Cause
consider hugs and a back
Touching
massage
you.
physical touch. Physical touch
I'm
might
touching you
just be
right now.
sexual for
I'm
some
touching
people.
you. I'm touching you right
See,
now.
that'll get you smacked. You know what I mean? Don't come over here poking me. You can hug me, don't poke me. That's two different things, But
I used to hate that poke on Facebook. They still do that. Them Facebook
we're
posts,
not gonna talk. We're
pokes.
not gonna go into the
Oh,
pokes.
no,
oh,
We're not
okay.
gonna go into the
Because I used to get
pokes.
poked, and sometimes
I'm sure
guys
you
would poke
did.
me. I say, nope, you
I,
I
got the
know.
wrong one.
I know
You
you
got the
did.
wrong one to be
I
nobody
know
poked.
you.
trying to poke me.
I know you got poke, Reverend. I know you
I'm
got
not a
poke.
pokey.
Oh boy.
Y'all just
Yes,
be serious for one time.
Oh man.
that's hilarious.
Angel, I like what you said a few minutes ago when I equated it to being curiosity versus complacency, and I think the ham thing. Because nobody asked, and we weren't trained to ask back then. You were trained to do as you were told. You were
Yeah.
trained to move forward as how things were, and we're decades in. We're two and three, four, generations in. Just myself individually, I was blessed to be a part of five, generations that I was able to see in my lifetime. So five
Wow.
generations in, man, and you're just, I don't know, your mama did it like this, your grandmama did it like this, her mama did it like this, your granny did it like this. And you be like, oh, okay. And you kind of you're proud, oh my granny did this, so I'm boo boo, and you're standing on it. And like Lee said, it's not to dissipate or discredit what the ancestors did by far, because we are nothing without them. I think it's just allowing ourselves to build and grow beyond, in addition to
In addition to,
um yeah, yeah, yeah,
expand.
yeah,
This is
expand.
this is what expanding really is. It's like, and that don't mean you got to run with every wind of doctrine, as they say. But it's like just being able to recognize some stuff, some things we didn't even know back then, like some things they didn't know back then, right? We drive cars today. They
Or
didn't
they were
have
utilizing
cars.
only the resources that they had. They don't have the resources,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
And
Exactly. Even
emotional
brain
intelligence
science. There we
was
go.
not
That's
a
right.
resource available
was not a
to
jam.
Emotional
past
Was not.
intelligence,
generations.
all of that stuff. What we know about psychology today, what we know about the mind today, what we know about the brain today, what we know about human nature today is far more than what we've known before. Now, I will also say we've gotten away from
Mhm.
some things that we should have hung on to regarding human nature. So it's like I've had the honor and the privilege of talking to people about this whole self-love, self-care, self whatever talk, and being able to incorporate now, as we're doing all that, I want you to go back and look at human nature. How much of it is completely self? None of it. But if we get too heavy on this one side, we're going to miss that part, and that's going to be a key element really missing. You know, we grew up in a society that learned the way we learned. We learned this is the way you discipline your kids. This is the way, but not recognizing and realizing that also there was a tribal, like maybe like some of the Native Americans, and they never hit their kids. But we think that's how you discipline them.
Right.
They never hit them, and then research is showing that they actually ended up being more successful and more respectful and more loving.
Or go back to Ubuntu philosophy. They involved everybody in that
We don't want to do that at all.
building up of breaking the behavior challenges.
Right.
Yep. And the idea was if I win, the idea was none of us win if all of us don't win. So we have to find another way. There's a selfish part of me that wants it to be me, but then my Ubuntu mind, my relational mind has to kick in and say, no, I really want it to be us. Right? And he's like, but we don't want to do the work of that selfish mind, or we don't want to do the work of that individual mind. Even the way we approach other people, we want people to be where we want them to be when we're there. But when we were where they are, we were telling people, just give me time. God's still working on me.
He ain't through with me yet.
He ain't through with me yet. So we respond to life in the area of where we are, forgetting where we came and forgetting the grace that we needed back then, or even the people now. And some stuff I get it, but at the same time, y'all, it's kind of stupid. Like we say, oh, I need to hang around people that are. You hanging around people that's where I need to hang around people
richer than me.
Than where I am. Well, guess what? If you don't want to hang around people lower than you, what makes you think they want to hang around you? Because you're lower than them, trying to get to where they at.
Nobody thinks about that.
Some stuff we don't think through is what I. And that's not saying don't have some friends that are up, but it's just saying that don't mean get rid of the ones that are not there. They might have a totally different purpose anyway.
Right.
But these are things that we've learned. The way we relate, we picked it up from somewhere, and it's not all automatically the most healthy thing. I posted the other day and I said, your personality is not who you are necessarily. It's not necessarily synonymous with who your authentic self really is. It's not. But we all hang our hat on our personalities. It's like your personality was shaped. Some of the way you developed the personality you developed is because you had to accommodate for something that the environment that you was in some type of way. The smallest little things. We talking about generational stuff. You not responding, or your parents not responding to you a certain way as a child. We put on a personality to accommodate for something that was naturally us, but it wasn't accepted. So then we had to put a personality over it to cover it up, or to so that we can present acceptable. It's in our DNA to be accepted. It's in our makeup to be loved, to be seen, known, and loved. So when people say, oh, they're attention-seeking behaviors, well, the only reason that they jump to attention-seeking behaviors and now it's coming out as negative is because somewhere they weren't getting the attention. So now they're trying for acceptance. They're trying to get the acceptance that their soul was designed to receive in the first place. This is why I don't like, I don't care what people think. I care. I care. Now, me having to care had to come back to me doing some healing work. All right, because me not caring wasn't healing for me. That was hardness for me. All right, so I had to come back to no, I care. However, I can't be what I'm not. So I care what you think about me. But if you're wanting me to be an apple tree and I'm a coconut tree, I'm sorry. As much as I care, I can't be anything other than I am. It's framed totally different for me now. But it's not that I don't care. I want everybody to like me. I mean, if I'm being honest, I want you all to like me, but I'm not finna sit here and I'm not finna become a people pleaser to get you to do it.
Right.
I can't do it. That's not going to be healthy for me. And it's going to be me being fake with you. I don't want to do that. I want you to be able to trust me beyond my words. I want you to be able to, and people don't see it this way, but it's like, I want you to see me for who and what I am and be able to trust that I am who and what I say that I am. because I believe your heart needs that level of safety and security, or at least truth. That's how we heal our trauma. That's how we heal our. It's not gonna, because you can't go back and fix what happened. It's how we deal with this stuff when it surfaces now. When I recognize,
moving forward.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you have been tuned into the show
Show
and never
where we
stops.
show it all.
Well, we just show it all and we show out. Show it all and we show out and we deal with things that are fancy towards life, whether it be parallel or perpendicular, but it's all real, real time, real life. Um, we have these hard talks and we have these good talks and we have these real talks. But this is a show. I am very, very proud to, be a part of the show with the crew. Angel Simmons, LeAnzar Stockley. If you are under a bush or something for whatever reason, you could check them out at angelsimmons.com. You could check them out at leanzarstockley.com. And I don't know, they may have some quick advertisements or something that they could show right here on the camera that they can let you know a little bit of what they're about and what they do and what they do. But it's all about love. It's all about relationality and relationships and zooming in basically on your authentic self and being able to kind of realize what is good for you and what is not good for you, or what you might be partaking in. So if I were you, I would check them out. If I were you,
Zooming in on your authentic self.
I can't repeat it. I have no idea.
You just did. I like that.
That's it.
Zooming in on your authentic self.
Zooming in, somebody type it up. That's it.
Writing
Zooming
it
in on
down.
your authentic self. That's it. That's it. And that's it for a lifetime. Zooming in on your authentic self, and it's a journey. It's a journey, and it's never over with. So, if you have the investment, if you're willing to make the investment, if you have the time for you, because at the end of the day, it's not for anybody else. It's really for you, and then it just blesses other people in whatever capacity. But it's really for you. Um, So yeah, zoom in whenever you get a chance. That probably is going to do something. That zoom in is probably going to do something. That's me. How you put into my name? I didn't type that. They got my stuff, y'all. Y'all hear me? So if y'all see some spam or I didn't do that. Y'all see my
I
hands?
did it. I did it.
They got my stuff, y'all. I'm talking to the audience, to the world. They got my. So if y'all see some stuff that you might not think they come from Brysen, you might be right. But this right here, this came from me. Zooming in on your authentic self. This has been a blast. This is super, super dope. We will reconnect in about a month. I don't know, these months go by really quick.
They really do.
And yeah, we'll see you guys.
Well, this one was short too. Like we was not a whole month out, I think.
Not this one, but
They
the
do go by
last time
quick.
from March till now was not probably not a full month, but April is a 5 week month, so
Mm.
it's an extended month.
Mm,
So it's
mm.
weird. It's weird, but you're correct. You're correct. So we'll reconnect in May, before the end of the month, um, for sure. And yo, the floor is open to my dynamic duo. You have any closing remarks, either one of you? Share what you got going on, what you're doing, where you're going. If you got an event or something, or you want people to partake in whatever, let them know.
I ain't got nothing going on, but you can come buy these books. You can go to angelsimmons.com and you can order Love's Great Design, Uncovering the Power and Purpose of Human Relationship, and Target of Love, Surviving Narcissistic Abuse. You can grab you a Love is the Language of the Soul t-shirt while they are still available. There are 5 spring colors, and spring has sprung. So want to make sure you get your gear. My closing words would be, don't forget who you were at your worst.
Mm,
I think
Ooh.
that
mm,
is
mm.
I think that is the best. That is the best thing that will help. That is the best thing that will help you as you navigate these relationships and try to show up authentically for people in whatever space they're in, whether it's dark or light, whether it's heavy or light. Um, Remember who you were when you were really ugly, and
Like my face
give
is
that
stuck right here,
grace.
right now
I'm
from that
saying, I'm
phrase.
saying, give that grace. You got to be able to show that same
Ooh.
grace as you would have wanted when you were in your nasty,
That
stanky
you still
hole
want. That you still want.
that you want, and you want it every time. Everybody's not going to be able to be reciprocal when they're in pain. It's not possible. It is not advantageous for us to expect that. It is not realistic in each situation, and really asking for wisdom in those situations is the best thing for you. But remember who you were when you wasn't you,
Hmm,
Mm.
and
hmm,
that will help you to show up for people when they are not being them.
hmm, hmm.
Wow. Wow. Well, all I got to say is, mm,
Mm,
no. So I ain't got nothing
mm.
going on. Well, yes, I do. I do got something going on. I got these books, right?
Uh-huh.
Get these books,
Mm.
especially this one. Seriously, like I think I just, I really feel like there's okay, yeah, get that book. www.leanzar.com, for that book. I also have a now y'all can't get in on this at this point because it's from over. I got a friendship retreat coming up at the end of this month, April 28th through the 30th. It's now closed, so can't nobody else go. But I want you all to hold us in a good vibe space, for that because we're trying to build I feel like to me it's pointless to talk about a lot of this stuff and not actually embody this stuff. So I want to provide platforms where that can actually happen. And for those of you who want to be able to get a part of this one, but you want to be a part of the one maybe next year or the one in 2025, because in 2025 we expect to be in Costa Rica. All right, so that one is going to be huge if I can pull it off. If I can pull it off, so that's the only thing that's going on in regards to that. But just hold us in a good vibing space for that at the end of this month. And then the final words I guess that I would say is just piggybacking off of what Angel said. Wisdom is the principal thing. In any of this relationship stuff that we talk about, any of this life stuff that we talk about, this passion and this purpose, wisdom is the principal thing. God brought it back to my mind that the only thing that I've ever prayed for my whole life that I've really prayed for was wisdom. And I think that although I ain't got $1 million in the bank, yet. Although I don't have $1 million,
Yeah.
I do believe that he's realigning me to be a vessel of wisdom and a vessel that is teachable. So wisdom being the principal thing to help you navigate all of your life relationships and love and trauma and your drama. Oh, and that ask for wisdom of how to deal with your trauma because that's where you're going to find your superpower or your most authentic power to live the life you need to live.
Will any portions of your getaway be aired? I know that it's a very private and intimate event, but will any little gems be dropped? Many maybe some snippets
There,
that can be shared with the world that we should
there
look
might
forward
be.
to.
There's nothing that's actually 100% planned, but in today of social media, there may be a few things that you might catch on the story or something that we catch and capture and say, "Hey, let's use this," but it hadn't been specifically planned. Maybe the master class, there might be some pieces of stuff during one of the master class breakout sessions that we might get, or maybe something during the nature walk. So I don't know.
Nice,
We'll try.
beautiful, beautiful. And you guys, if you want to keep up, if you want to see what little gems might be dropped, or maybe see what the whole retreat in not or a portion of the retreat entails, make sure you follow at LeAnzar and follow at Society. And if you want to stay with connected with Angel, and maybe get you a little summertime shy shirt and a book to help you kind of build and before you go back into cuffing season, you know what I mean?
Oh Lord.
Check out Love's Great Design. and check out the Message Inc. Come on, shift the camera. Yeah, so check these, these dope folks out. And Angel, you gave your last words.
I did.
She did.
Okay. All right. Well, we done. We done at 7:02. Thank
Stop.
you
We
guys
did
for
it.
tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you check us out. We are the show. LeAnzar Stockley, Angel Simmons, LeAnzar Stockley. I'm Brysen Williams. You guys, if you feel like it, you go follow me at Original Brysen at Sweet Spot Media. Make sure you check my stories because that's usually where most of my deets are. Um, but yeah, thank you for tuning in. If you're so inclined, go ahead and share this page with your friends, with your family, with your whatever your streaming platforms are. Feel free to do so. And if you had any questions, um, feel comfortable. You are welcome to drop into any of our inboxes to share, to vent, to maybe tell us we're wrong, whatever goes for you. We welcome it. All right. So thank you guys. Have a great week. Stay rooted, stay grounded,
Yes.
stay real, stay your authentic self, and keep the peace straight up. Thank you.
Zoom in your authentic self.
Ah, come on, and your camera did it as soon as you said
Peace out.